This is first the program on Gandhi and peace studies. In this program today we have a very special guest. We have invited Maria Elsa Pinto Gracia. She holds master's degree from Tokyo University, and her master's degree is on peace and conflict studies.
Thank you.
So welcome to India, and welcome to IGNOU.
Thank you, Professor Gopal, and well, thank you, the Indira Gandhi Open University. This is a great opportunity to exchange my ideas and share. I'm going to divide my presentation in four main chapters. First, I'm going to give you a brief introduction about the Colombian conflict and the background of the conflict. Then I'm going to tell you about my research question and where we're going to go with all this venture. The second is the methodology that I used for my research. Third, we are going to see and analyze the songs that were composed by victims and ex-combatants of the Colombian conflict and their implications. And finally, I'm going to end with my conclusions. As you can see well in the map, Colombia is a country that is in South America. We are strategically located in South America because we are connected through the Atlantic Ocean but also through the Pacific Ocean. Well, it is an interesting case of a study because a significant number of victims and ex-combatants have composed on their own initiative conflict-related songs to tell past events of the internal conflict, but also to express emotions and feelings to past or present experiences related to the conflict and the disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration process. Let's talk very briefly about the Colombian conflict. There is currently an ongoing conflict between many actors, as you can see. So there is the FARC-EP guerrilla, which is a left-wing guerrilla, you could say, or it was born like that. Nowadays you can question that, but let's say it's a left-wing guerrilla. There is also the ELN guerrilla. There is also drug dealers and criminal bands, and there was the AUC paramilitary group that was demobilized in 2003. So in 2003 there was a peace process that began with the Santa Fe de Realito agreement, and they started with the government a demobilization, disarmament, and reintegration process with the paramilitary group. It was also enacted the Justice and Peace Law in 2005 that has been like the main legal framework for the DDR process, as I said, but also to give all the legal dispositions for the fulfillment of victims' right to know the truth, to find justice, and to be awarded reparations for all the damage caused by this group. So, in order to be clear, there is an ongoing conflict in Colombia, but there was a peace process in 2003 with the AUC paramilitary group, which resulted in a disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration process with them, and also a transitional law that made possible this reintegration, but also awarded victims with reparations and also to find justice and find the truth of the conflict. So in this broad context, songs of victims and ex-combatants have been composed, and these are the songs that we are going to analyze. So in the literature about peace building and art, there is an over-optimistic view. You almost assume that music is good for reconciliation, but the literature doesn't go in deep to answer what is the scope of music and reconciliation, to what extent music actually connects to reconciliation or does not connect. There are also many examples in history where music has been used for purpose of war. For example, Hitler used to use Wagner symphonies to torture the Jewish people also, or to incentivize the army for himself. So there are plenty of examples also that where music was used for bad purposes. So you cannot say just music is good for reconciliation and that's it. So you need to go in deep and study really this connection. So that was the main purpose. And given this significant number of songs composed by victims and ex-combatants, I wanted to answer the following research questions. Then, why victims and ex-combatants in Colombia have decided to compose songs related to the conflict? And second, to what extent these songs connect to reconciliation in both the composers but also the listeners of the songs. In this slide you can also see a Javi Man, which is a composer, a victim of the Bojayá bombing, that is what was one of the worst events of the war in Colombia. What was the theoretical framework that I used? In the reconciliation literature, there are two main approaches. One is the liberal approach that focuses on the structural aspects of reconciliation, let's say economic aspects, political aspects, justice aspects. And there is also the social psychological approach of reconciliation that focuses on all psychological aspects of human beings, that is beliefs, behaviors, attitudes, perceptions. The psychological approach also focuses on intractable conflicts that have lasted at least a few decades and that entail a harmful accumulation of misperceptions, stereotypes, hostility, and hatred. That is why they required a social psychological process to transform the structures of beliefs that have permeated the society for a significant period of time. So, since music is not only about, or is more about feelings than other things, I thought that music might play, and in general art might play an important role in all these aspects, socio-psychological aspects. So that's why I use this theoretical framework. So what did I do on my research? I traveled to Colombia. Again, I was in Japan, so I traveled to Colombia and conducted 5 semi-structured interviews with composers. The main objective of conducting these interviews was to gain an insight of the reasons, the needs, the motivations that they had to compose these songs, basically, and to choose music as a way to express. They didn't choose a newspaper, they didn't choose another type of art, they chose music. I wonder why, and that's what I asked in the interviews. And secondly, I conducted 2 focal group exercises. So, in the beginning, a group of ex-combatants listened to a song composed by victims. And I asked them what was the reaction towards the singer or towards people with similar affiliation to the singer. And then I organized a group of 8 internally displaced people that were victims of the conflict, and they listened to an ex-combatant song. And then I did the same. I asked them, what would you do, for example, if this person enters to this room? What would be your reaction to that? Or what do you think about him now that after listening to this song?
Luis Rafael Martínez y Teresa Santos, aquí tienen su semilla. Yo soy aquel aventurero y soñador. Yo nací en medio del amor, pero un día me atrapó el conflicto que hasta
I was born surrounded by love, but one day I was caught in the conflict.
encontró la equivocada solución, porque me sentí acorralado, maltratado y perseguido y tenía que defenderme.
I'm also the one who found the wrong solution there because I felt intimidated, ill-treated and persecuted, and I had to defend myself. But I am aware of the fact that I have made mistakes. It was that meaningless war, that one that made me understand that peace starts when men finally understand that the cruel violence has never brought good. For our children, better times will come, but if you change, and me too. Okay, so this was one of the scripts of the songs that I played to the group of victims. Daniel Martinez, that you can see him in the slide, he is an ex-combatant of the AUC group, and he composed this song by him. So these are some of the scripts of the composer's interview. What did they say when I did the interview? So one of them said, for example, we seem to forget the hatred because, as the song of the famous salsa artist Rubén Blades states, Sing and forget your pain, because the one who sings says more and suffers less. I want people to know what really happened. We wanted to create lyrics to differentiate ourselves as civil population in the middle of the conflict. Nobody asked you who you were before entering into this. A boy with dreams, a person that had ideas, and a person who never thought to be part of this. That is what I wanted to tell with my song. This sentence is from Daniel Martinez himself. And now what the listeners said after listening to this song, the group of ex-combatants, what did they say? It is a reality that we have all lived in the countryside, but not many people know about it in the urban areas. He is honest, he is telling the truth. They are releasing the anger and they have the right to do so. He says that in all sincerity he already changed. I would give him an opportunity after this song. So that is what the victim said after listening to Daniel Martinez's song and also to the victim's song. So I could find many opportunities here, in the sense that, well, first, these songs are storytelling tools that contribute to the historical memory of the conflict in a way that is accessible to all the public. That is also very interesting. It's not a whole book about the history of the Colombian conflict, or it's not the many news that appeared in the newspaper of Colombia, that people is used to read that and is careless about it. But it's a very attractive way to tell their own version of the truth, and that people in the urban areas, for example, that don't know sometimes anything about it, know more about the conflict in a first-hand version. It is also, of course, an exposition of the truth, or at least a version of their truth. We can also recognize the different narratives. It's very different to listen to a song composed by a victim than to listen to a song composed by an ex-combatant. So we can hear what are the both versions of the truth. Most of the misperceptions that people have in Colombia is that ex-combatants, for example, wanted to join the war because they wanted, because they like it, or because they are bad people. But for example, in the song, as you could see, he says that he felt threatened, he didn't have much option, and actually he had to join the conflict because otherwise he would have to be displaced from his town, or maybe some of his relatives would be threatened, etc. So he is also acknowledging guilt and responsibility. As you could see also, he says, I'm aware that I made some mistakes, but now I'm in another life, I'm creating songs, I'm another person, and so he accepts his guilt. These songs are also spaces for mourning and catharsis. They constitute an outlet to release feelings and emotions, especially for the victims. They have lived very hard experiences that they told me that music was one of the best ways to release those emotions. Sometimes words are not enough. Even only the notes were enough to release those feelings and feel better. So also the psychological process inside was really helpful for them. They express unknown or new identities. For example, Daniel Martinez, he says, I used to be a boy with dreams. I didn't want to join the conflict. I was a dreamer. I was raised in love, but well, I had to join the conflict. So you could see that he's not only the ex-combatant, he's also a boy with dreams, he's also a person that can change himself, and that is also a musician. So it's a lot of identities that people don't know when they say, yes, he's this combatant. We label him like that. No, he's more than that, and he actually shows that with his music. In the listeners, there were also some expressions of trust and understanding. It is very impressive that a victim says, okay, I can trust him, I think he's telling the truth, I would welcome him to this room. All because, well, after listening to a song, I can see that he's a human being like me, and that we can reconcile each other. So all these are the opportunities that now let's move on to the limitations. And for this, I also want to play a song. This is a group that is called Renacientes. They were internally displaced people from the Chocó region in Colombia, and they made this song that has very strong lyrics.
Recordar tanta gente que corría, mujeres embarazadas y niños que nacieron ese día, pero algo doloroso en nuestra mente se quedó, ver cómo torturaban tanta gente en el Chocó, de forma inhumana a un hermano mataron, cortándole la cabeza y con ella jugaron. Hermano Marino López, ha regresado a tu tierra, lo triste que son tus restos desde producto de la guerra, tú y otros hermanos que la tierra cobijó. Culpable es el gobierno y Rito Alejo porque ordenó, porquería desgraciado que al Senado se lanzó, haciéndose el inocente después que el pueblo sangró. Vimos que destruido no se puede seguir, entonces nos organizamos para poder resistir. Llora mi pueblo al recordar los hermanos que ya...
So, unforgettable date in year 97. Brothers were killed by chainsaw and machete. It is sad to remember so many people running. Pregnant women and children who were born that day, but something painful in our minds stayed. To see how they tortured so many people in Chocó. In an inhuman way, they killed a brother. They cut off his head and played with it. Brother Marino Lopez, you have returned to your land. How sad are your mortal remains, which are the result of the war. You and other brothers who were sheltered by the land. The culprit is the government and Rito Alejo, since he ordered this. What a scum, despicable person who ran for Senate, pretending to be innocent after he made people bleed. We realize that we cannot continue being separated, so we organize ourselves in order to resist. There is also opportunities in the song. It is not only about limitations. Some of the lyrics might reinforce a latent conflict and enlarge the differences between the sides instead of reducing the distances. So sentences like, today we tell people to keep struggling so these rich bastards don't continue to enslaving us. That is one of the sentences. They are not lyrics that actually invite you to reconcile, but actually they invite you to be more against the government or to enlarge differences between the enemies. So, well, you wonder if this song would contribute to reconciliation or not with this kind of lyrics. There is a continuation of stereotyping and mistrust in some of the listeners. So after listening to the song of Danner Martinez or of the victims, not all the reactions were that positive, as I said in the opportunities. They also said, for example, if that ex-combatant would have been the one that mistreated my family, it is not possible to see him in a good way, even if he has composed this song. Danner Martinez and one of his victims would encounter themselves. Maybe that would have been the reaction. I don't care if you compose this song, but I wouldn't forget all the pain you caused in me. So the song doesn't go that far to just assure forgiveness. Another said, I would not go to a concert of this singer. I would not go to get some entertainment from a perpetrator. There are some expressions of trust and understanding, but there are also some expressions of stereotyping and mistrust. So you can never assure what the listeners are going to or how the listeners are going to react to your music. And that is one of the limitations that you have to take into account when applying music as an instrument for reconciliation or as a peace-building tool. They also said that it is very difficult to achieve reconciliation if there is not social justice. I mean, you can have the best attitude towards reconciliation, but what if you are not awarded reparations? What if you are continued to be displaced in a town and you don't receive any help from the government? What if you see still you're the perpetrator that caused you damage in the street just without any punishment? So they say also that if there is no social justice, reconciliation in Colombia is going to be very difficult. So music cannot also go that far. I mean, music can stir some emotions and open the door, let's say, but it cannot go that far to assure some of the structural conditions that you need for sure to achieve real peace and reconciliation in a country. There is also a limitation that I identified with the project Sing With Me for the Reintegration. Danner Martinez, the ex-combatant that I present you in the first place, made part of a project that which name is Sing With Me for the Reintegration. So the government, like a reality show, so they told people that were ex-combatants, okay, all of you that you feel that you have a talent, come here, we will select you. They lived together for almost 3 months. It was not only about ex-combatants, but they also call victims and vulnerable people in Colombia. So it was in the same project, you had ex-combatants, victims, and other poor people, let's say. So they say they lived together for almost 3 months. During the process, they knew each other, forgave each other, and discovered that they could join their voices to transmit the message of hope and reconciliation that Colombia needs for starting to change history. The project was not an encounter between victims and perpetrators. I mean, it was not the perpetrator and the victim that gathered themselves and started to sing. It was some ex-combatants and some victims that were not related at all. And well, you wonder, so they didn't need to forgive anything because they were not the ones that caused damage between each other. The participants did not live together in a house, but received daily training in it. So they didn't live together as the way they presented in the website. The songs composed by the participants, for example, the one that I showed you, Danner Martinez, were created from their previous circumstances and not as a result of the project experience. So it's not because they joined the project that they started to compose this beautiful song about reconciliation. No, it was before the project that they composed the song on their own initiative. Music was neither the central means through which participants interacted with each other, nor a therapeutic instrument to forgive. The music was mostly an individual process. So Danner Martinez, you have a song, okay, let's record it, I will teach you how to sing better, but it was not because, okay, Danner, you sit with the victim and now we sing each other. No, it wasn't nothing like that. And finally, it might be in question what is to forgive, since the community members were not harmed by the ex-combatants of the project. So the way the government presented, you can propagandize by the government the project and the music. And all this was surprised me more when in the interview Danner Martinez, without asking, he said, I feel as being used by the project. He told me, I chose the wrong strategy to make myself recognized in public. And then he said, if I sing my song in front of the public, naturally that is different from using my song for imposing the subject of peace and reconciliation, because that cannot be imposed. So he told me that his music was presented, and of course that is a limitation. You can never impose peace or reconciliation through any kind of art. That is contradictory by itself. So that was also a limitation that I found in the songs that I analyzed. Music allows us to find a common ground between victims and ex-combatants. They have both used music with the same purposes of reconstructing the historical memory of conflict, expressing their feelings related to past events, and redefine their identities. Also, victims and ex-combatants use music as a personal experience that has enlarged their vision and allowed them to release emotions and mourning the losses. They have both lived very hard experiences, and music has been a very good to express these feelings and let them go. However, music has also limitations as a tool for reconciliation. As I said, it is not possible to predict or shape the reactions of the listeners. We cannot assume that musical meaning translates to the receptors without any transformation. There is always a transformation, and there is always different points of view regarding the music you play. Music can also be used to enlarge differences between enemies, as we saw in the rap song. There is a difficult relation between justice and reconciliation. If there is no justice and truth, it is very difficult to achieve reconciliation. Even if you have the best art tools, or even if you try the best to try to make people forgive each other, it is very difficult if the truth is not known by the public opinion, and if they are not rewarded with justice and reparations. And of course, music can also be manipulated in a good and in a bad sense. we could see that maybe they had the best motivations to present the project in the way they presented. It was a good project anyway, but you can never impose peace and reconciliation and say that everything is good when there are many things in Colombia still to fix and to build. We need to build peace with truth. It is not possible to build peace without truth and imposing some sort of reconciliation that is not real, and doesn't entails the most important things of conflict. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you understood all my English.
Thank you, Maria. I think your English was very fluent. I'm asking a question just before we conclude. See, the music during freedom moment.
Yes.
That in India, if you are not familiar, we will also help you to understand that the Sufism is played very important role. Sufi music, bringing all our caste communities together, and this became a very powerful force during national movement. Yeah. Do you have the such music form in your country?
Yeah. Okay. Fortunately, I have had the opportunity to listen to soft Sufi music. First time I came to India in 2008, I went to a mosque, and I listened to these beautiful songs, and it was a good chance because there was someone translating for us in English what the Sufi lyrics were, and they were really beautiful, and I can understand why this music could join all Indian population around it. We don't have, I would say that in Colombia it's very difficult to have one single genre of music, because we are, well, you went to Colombia and you could see that there are many different regions, many different climates, very different food, and very different music also. So people from Bogota, that is a cold climate, we have a more calm music, but people from the coast that also have a very important influence of African people, they have a very dancing music, Latino music, so I would say that it's very difficult to have one type of music that actually joins the whole country, but still music is really important in our society. You cannot think about a meeting between your family or your friends without music. You cannot think about even going to the car or doing every activity without music. Music is really important, and many tourists that go to Colombia tell me, you listen to music every time. Well, although India, I would say that is quite similar with Bollywood songs, but yeah, I think music has a great potential in Colombia, because everyone listens to one type or another type of music, and that can actually join each other, as soccer and music. I would say that is a point in common that all Colombians have, and that could be like a fire that would enable us to join in as a one society.
Thank you very much for coming to our university and making this very meaningful contribution. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.